Hello, Nora, the Leca Queen here. It's the first week of spring in Australia and I just cannot wait for the plants to just get stuck into the growing season. But before I start to celebrate all the new growth that's going to happen across this growing season, I just want to take a minute to say thank you to my top performers, my plants that have been keeping me going throughout winter, plants that have been behaving like there is no winter at all and have just kept growing. Let us get started. First one I'm going to show you is this cute baby over here. This one is my Snow Queen Pothos. Snow Queen Pothos in Australia, people, could be enjoy where you are, could be called whatever you want to call her. I like to call her Beauty because she is my gorgeous, gorgeous Snow Queen. I'll just bring her closer so you can take a look. So this plant here is living on a plastic sheet back moss pole. And I can tell you, when I stand up, I am at the same height level as this plant. I'll readjust my camera so we can take a look at what it's doing at the top. This is my plant here. It's actually taller than I am. We are getting almost to the top of its moss pole and it's doing so well. What I really love about this plant is it's continued to grow, but what it's also done is the leaves are getting bigger and bigger. If you look here, look at that one. It is humongous. That's the size of my hand. Look at that as well. Look at that one as well. They're all just really growing and it's almost getting all, oops, this one's getting a bit stuck there. It's getting all the way to the top of the pole. That is the top of that moss pole over there and that's where it is. It's almost right at the top and I really like that it's spring now because I can actually now chop this moss pole. This is one of the only 3 plants that I've got still living in soil and I'm going to chop up this plant in half and donate the bottom half and I'm going to keep the top half growing in Leca. So I'm really excited. This is a project that I've got that I'm going to do pretty soon. But this is my Snow Queen. She has been going so well. She's fantastic. This is my Hoya Suzie Q. She has been growing really well. She was a tiny plant when I got her a few months ago. Just take a look at that picture. That's how small she was. She was living in a small pot, but I've had to upgrade her into a 14 centimeter pot. That's her leaves over there. You've got some whites, greens, reds everywhere. I've had to give her a much bigger trellis and look at that. It's just new leaves everywhere. Look at those teeny tiny leaves just emerging. This plant is doing so well and she is going to explode this spring. Next up is my little Philodendron Birkin. I really love this little plant. She's been struggling for quite some time. She was actually one of my first Leca transfers, if you can believe it. She's been pretty much doing nothing for a few years, but this is her now and that's a new leaf that recently came. That's another new leaf there. You can see another new leaf coming over there. So this one is doing well. She's still living in a tiny 10 centimeter pot, but I'm really liking how she's going. Look at that variegation, that distinctive Birkin variegation that she's got. Yes, she is loving life in Leca. That there is my Hilo Beauty. I transitioned this plant from soil to Leca a few months ago. I've actually got a video where I show you how I did this. Just click on the link above and that'll take you to it. And a few people did say that it would actually die, this plant, when I did that transition. I'm glad to be able to prove you wrong. Here she is in all her glory. She's got 4 leaves, doing so well, still living in her 10 centimeter pot. And look at those roots. Those roots are just going insane. I probably need to give her a repot. Actually, I don't think she'll go through the spring and the summer without needing one. But that's my Hilo Beauty doing so well. Those leaves are just, they're stunning. They are absolutely stunning. Look at that. Nature's camouflage. She's beautiful. We're going to look at another moss pole now. I've got some moss poles that have been doing really well. And one of these is my Monstera El Salvador. I'm not sure that too many of you would have seen this one. I keep her under wraps a lot, and she's a bit of an unsung hero in my collection. This is my Monstera El Salvador. This plant was really, really big. I actually chopped her, and this is the top part of my El Salvador. This plant has spent pretty much most of its life living in Leca, and I've loved how, look at that. That is a maturing leaf of an El Salvador. Look at the fenestrations on those leaves, but also look at how big. That is my face, and that is the leaf. Look at how big those are. It just looks absolutely majestic. This is a tiny pole, but look at how much she's been growing. This is a new leaf that's just come through. That's another new leaf that's come through. Another new leaf. This is a new leaf that's coming. But what's really, really good is if you take a look at this leaf here, you can actually see the next leaf already lined up to grow. So this plant is she's just really, really going for it. And you can see here is where I actually took a cutting. I took a cutting here, and this one here is the new growth point that emerged off this stem, and that is now growing really, really well. So those leaves haven't fenestrated, which is not too surprising, but I'm pretty sure looking at the size of that leaf, those fenestrations won't be too far away. So that there is my Monstera El Salvador living in Leca. So as I said, it's still a pretty, it's just less than a meter high, this plant, because this was the top cutting. I'll show you the bottom cutting. I've still got that one. And the reason I haven't given that one away is there was no reason for me to give it away. It was still living in Leca. I'll show you that one. This is the bottom part of my Monstera El Salvador. This plant is living in Leca in a 20 centimeter pot. It's quite big. Look at that leaf. Look at those, but it's just going insane. And the reason I wanted to keep this plant is it's got about, I think it's got 3 stems. So it's got 3 stems climbing all the way to the top, and look at that. But it's also actually gotten to the top of its moss pole over there. It's living on a plastic sheetback moss pole. And look, that is new growth. That's new growth there. And I really need to be extending this moss pole sometime soon. But I love how she's growing. She hasn't yet fenestrated. So that would be nice this spring. But look at that leaf. That leaf is just humongous, and I'm pretty sure she's going to fenestrate soon. So that one is my Monstera El Salvador. Another Hoya. My Hoyas have really been doing well. This is my Hoya Australis Lisa. Look at that gorgeous, gorgeous, there's 2 over there. There's this one over here, and there's this one that's just gone crazy. I've got a picture over there of what she looked like just a few months ago, and she has just taken off really, really well. That's her that's not even a 10 centimeter pot. It's just slightly smaller than that, probably 9. But look at those roots, just doing so well and just growing. What I will need to do is actually give her a trellis, because that's just going crazy. I'll give her a trellis and watch her grow, because she clearly has got places to go. Let's do another moss pole. This here is my Monstera Siltepacana. That's, a little baby El Salvador. It looks a lot like an El Salvador. And this plant is really just been a star performer for me. Oops. Oh, I'll put it down there. So she's just under a meter high, so still quite a small moss pole. But what I love about this moss pole is there's about 3 or 4 stems in there, and you can see those leaves are It's so bushy and it looks really, really good. But what I've loved about it as well is if you look at this leaf, this plant is starting to fenestrate. So those leaves are starting to become more mature. And as this plant grows up this moss pole, that will only increase. So it's just about at the top of its moss pole now. So I will need to do a moss pole extension and get it going. I won't need to change that pot. That's a 14 centimeter pot it's in. And I think that's just absolutely fine. There's a bit of a yellow leaf there. Just get rid of that. But that is my Monstera Siltepacana, just loving life in Leca, doing her thing, waiting for a moss pole extension so she can keep growing bigger. I'll do another Hoya. Some of my Hoyas have been doing really, really well this winter actually. This one is my Hoya Krinkle. That is a Hoya Krinkle living in a 14 centimeter pot, and she's got her growth technology flower focus in the reservoir there and just looking absolutely fabulous. Just growing, growing, growing. Growth points everywhere. But what I really like about this Krinkle is if you look here, it's like a splash. It's like a splash Krinkle. It's not a splash Krinkle. I'm pretty sure there is a splash Krinkle somewhere. I don't have one. But it's sort of, it was just a normal green, green, green. And then these bits just got so splashy. Not sure what happened there. Maybe they got exposed to a lot more light. I don't know. The rest of it isn't as splashy as those bits. But that's it. All those are new leaves, new leaves. I've just given her a new trellis and she is ready to grow. Next plant is my Dieffenbachia. My Dieffenbachia is doing really well. This is her here. She's now actually got 3 plants in there. It started off as 1 plant. It's had babies since then and it's just going really, really well. I've got her in a self-watering pot there. And she is very happy. There's been a lot of new growth. Those leaves are just humongous and it's really, really healthy. So, you know, there's a lot to be said for this semi-hydra life, guys. My Dieffenbachia is loving life in Leca. And I'm pretty sure next time you see this plant is going to be a lot bigger than what it is right now. Another Hoya. Hoya Latifolia Albomarginata. Look at that baby. Look at how gorgeous that plant is. This is another one I got only a few months ago, but she is just growing, 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 growing. Lots of new growth. That is just going, that vine is just going everywhere. And she's just loving life and she's going to be really, really big. This is another one that probably definitely needs a trellis. That's her in her pot. That's what her roots look like. She's doing well. I definitely need to give her a trellis so she can grow on that. This list would not be complete without my Syngonium Mojito. That is my Mojito. She is one of my star performers. That's her moss pole back there, and that's where the last point is, and I'm going to be needing to be extending that moss pole pretty soon. There's two plants in here, and that's how come this plant looks so lovely and bushy. It's doing so well, honestly. Look at that mottled leaf. It's just absolutely glorious. There's just no faulting Syngonium Mojito. It's such a beautiful, beautiful plant. If you can get one, I highly encourage you to do it. You're gonna love her. And of course, I definitely encourage you to put her up on a moss pole because that just allows her to display her leaves in all their glory. That is my Syngonium Mojito, having done so very well in the winter, but is now looking forward to the new season. One last Hoya, special mention to this Hoya. This Hoya is doing really, really well. Acuta Variegata. I know the name of this has changed. I have it up there somewhere. But this plant is doing really well. I've put her on a trellis. She's climbing and she has got some peduncles. I'm not sure if you can see that over there. That's a tiny peduncle over there. There's another one somewhere. There we go. That one over there. That's a peduncle over there. So fingers crossed this baby might actually be flowering. I don't know, I hope they don't dry up and drop off, but that's the last Hoya I'm going to show you. That's been doing really well. So as I said, some of my Hoyas have just really taken off. Quite a lot of them have actually, but these are the ones that I thought definitely deserved a special mention. Another moss pole. This is my neon heartleaf. Really, this plant has just been doing so well. That's what she looked like a few months ago. She was pretty tiny, but I've now extended her moss pole. She's on a like 1.8 meter moss pole at the moment, and that's what she's doing. Look at the size of those leaves. That's how we started. The leaves were so small, a lot dark greener, but now the size of those leaves is getting really huge and getting a lot more neon. What I love about this plant is as the leaves are emerging, they have this orange, you know, it's like an orange hue on the leaves. And you can see that's a new one. That's also still got that little orange hue. And then they turn a proper neon green. But this has been one of my absolute star performers. She's been going so well this winter. And if she's done this great in winter, imagine what she's going to do in the spring. If you're enjoying this video, please don't forget to hit the like button. I have to give a special mention to my bird of paradise. This bird of paradise has been through a lot. The transition from soil to leca has not been the easiest, but just before spring hit, she's given me a beautiful new leaf. Granted, smaller than the other leaves. Those are the other leaves there, so that's quite big. I've got it staked up there because the other leaves don't have as much support as they normally would. But I think we're definitely heading in the right direction for this plant. That new leaf is absolutely stunning, and I know that she's going to keep giving me more leaves. And last but not least is my Florida Ghost. That there is my Florida Ghost. That has just been phenomenal. This plant has just been absolutely stunning throughout winter, and she's reached the top of her moss pole. Actually, she needs a pole extension. So if you look at that there, that's the top of the moss pole. That's a new leaf coming through there, and I really must extend this moss pole as soon as possible. But this plant has she has given me so much joy throughout winter and has just absolutely thrived. Look at that. She's absolutely glorious. So I'm just looking forward to the growing season. I'm going to extend this moss pole, and fabulous things are going to happen with this plant. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And I look forward to showing you these plants in the next few months, and they will just have exploded with the growing season, and that will just be absolutely fantastic. Thank you, and I'll see you guys next time.